Ladies and gentlemen, before I go into this lore that I'm about to go into, I just want to read Isaiah 65, verse 1, which says, I am sought of them that asked not for me. I am found of them that sought me not. I said, behold me, unto a nation that was not called by my name. Isaiah 65 goes on to elaborate on what it's talking about. There was this chosen people that God chose, but the leaders of those people did not choose him. And because they didn't choose him, he actually had to turn to other people who were not chosen, and those people actually accepted him. So it's very interesting. You ever been in life where you actually prepared something for a set of people, and when you go to present it to them, they don't want anything to do with it or you? And so you turn around, and the very people who you didn't expect to actually accept you and the thing you prepared, they're the ones that gulp it up. Now, sometimes in life things go like that, and I think that's the same thing happened with God and us. And now, instead of having a specific group of people that God has selected who would choose him, now anyone has the opportunity to choose God. People who are not even selected, like me, like you. If we're not Jewish, we weren't selected, but we all have access to him through Jesus Christ. If you want to know more about Jesus, simply say, Jesus, I want to know more about you. If you want to know who Jesus is, or know him for yourself, you can say, Jesus, I want to know you. They're two different things. And that's it, really. He'll take it from there. On that note, you guys enjoy this video that I'm talking about with respect to the lore in the DCEU and DC. Now, there's a little confusion over the Motherbox in the trailers that people were seeing, because there was a rumor going around that Cyborg is a Motherbox. When the Motherbox fused with him, he became a Motherbox. And he's one of the three Motherboxes that Darkseid's forces would be looking for. So what I decided to do was, first of all, give you some of the properties of a Motherbox according to the lore. I'm using Wikipedia here, so it's not complete, and also be able to suggest to you a theory of what I think is going on with the Motherboxes in the trailer that you saw. So, some of the properties of a Motherbox are given right here. So Motherboxes, they access energy from what is called the source, and they can do so many different things. They can change gravitational fields, they can transfer energy from one place to another, sense danger, sense light, create force fields, range molecular structures of matter, absorb, project powerful shock blasts, create electro webs, control the mental state of a host. So when a Motherbox fuses with some sentient being or even an inanimate object, it's able to control the mental state of a sentient being. A sentient being is basically something that's alive, okay, that can think. So it can control the mental state of a host. It can communicate telepathically with a host or other life forms, and it can manipulate the life force of a host and sustain it past fatal injuries. So in the case of Cyborg, you remember in Batman v Superman, the Motherbox was fused with Cyborg's body and was able to manipulate the life force of Cyborg and even heal him. Okay, the injuries were supposed to kill him, it healed him, but also notice that it can also take over and control non-sentient machines. So it's able to also control machines, and Cyborg is a machine and a human. It evolved non-sentient machines as well, so it's able to evolve them, change them up. And Cyborg, if you notice in the trailer, one minute he has hands, next minute he has a cannon, next minute he has guns and knives and all kinds of things. So he's able to transform, to be modified as a machine as well. And it merges sentient beings into a single more powerful being. So again, it can take now two or more sentient beings and make them more powerful. It can sustain a life form in a hostile environment such as space. We saw Cyborg going up into space. And also, very importantly, they can open and close boom tubes. And if you looked in the trailer, you saw that there was a mother box in Cyborg's father's house, apartment, wherever, in a cupboard area, it seems, and it seemed to have been activated for some reason. And then we see Cyborg's father, and we see a parademon sneaking up behind him. So there's something to do with these mother boxes and the boom tubes that Darkseid's forces are using to get to Earth. Now, very importantly, mother boxes actually come from Apocalypse. They were created by apocalyptic scientist Hyman using the mysterious element X. So these mother boxes actually come from Apocalypse, and so there's a relationship between Apocalypse and Earth. The fact that these mother boxes are on Earth, and they seem to have been there for a long time, means that Apocalypse, or at least people from Apocalypse, have visited Earth before, which leads to something very interesting in the fact that we know that there are 3 mother boxes on planet Earth, and we assume, at least I assume, that the Atlanteans had to guard one, that the Amazons or the Themyscirians were probably guarding another, and mankind was guarding another mother box. And we saw that in the Comic-Con trailer, where we saw some Viking-looking people burying a mother box into the Earth. And it's possible that somehow Cyborg's father got access to that mother box. I doubt he went into Atlantia. He wouldn't know where that is, so he probably didn't get that one either. And he probably doesn't know anything about Themyscira, which means you would assume the Themyscirians have a mother box as well. Which leads to the Wonder Woman movie, and will they explore or speak a little bit about mother boxes in that movie? I don't know, so we'll have to see. But there's a lot going on in Justice League. There's a lot going on. You know, if you think about all these different aspects, you're going to have some kind of aspect of Green Lantern in it. We know Superman is coming back from the dead. We know that we have to look at the history of these mother boxes and track them down. Plus, we have to have some background into Wonder Woman, even though she's having her own movie. With respect to the mother boxes, Wonder Woman, with respect to the mother boxes, as well as background for Aquaman. And we still have to look at background for the Flash and Cyborg, right? But we had some intros to these guys from BVS, and we know Cyborg is linked to a mother box. We saw that in BVS. So, with respect to mother boxes, we also saw Cyborg holding a mother box. So we saw Cyborg's father, and we saw a mother box, and then we saw Cyborg with a mother box. And that's what's confusing everyone. Everybody's like, well, Cyborg, isn't he supposed to be a mother box? First of all, Cyborg is not a mother box. But mother boxes are actually contained in their host. So we know Cyborg is fused to a mother box, and that the mother box is inside of Cyborg, controlling him. So you can clearly see that by the colors in the chest of Cyborg and even the blue light on Cyborg's head. And clearly Cyborg is a fusion of machine and sentient being, which means that the mother box is somehow controlling Cyborg's mind and communicating with him telepathically, as well as it seems as though that mother box is also controlling the machinery that Cyborg has, and has merged him and the machinery into a much more powerful being. So all of these things we said were aspects of Cyborg and the mother box, and I think this is what you're seeing. If you look in the trailer, Cyborg is saving people's lives quite a lot. You know, he protected that gentleman, which seemed to have been a policeman, from a tank that was falling into him, right? We saw him, protect people from falling debris, and so with the blast, and we can see that his he can change his arms and hands and stuff into different sort of things, weaponry or protective elements or tools. So he can morph and change. We saw that his face, he could put up a shield and protect his guard. We saw him move into space, which again the mother box would help to sustain him. So we know that Cyborg's fused to a mother box and that he's the host to a mother box. He's not a mother box. Everybody's saying Cyborg's a mother box. He's not a mother box, but he's fused to a mother box that's keeping him alive. So he's got apocalyptic technology that's keeping him alive. And mother boxes are more than just technology. Even though they're called supercomputers, they actually have feelings and emotions, and they have a life force. They can live or die, and they're hooked to the source, right? But we saw a cyborg, like I said before in this video, connected, holding a mother box. So how do we make sense of that? Well, here's how we make sense of Cyborg holding a mother box, and this is what is going to make perfect sense to everybody. It's possible that Cyborg is holding another mother box, and it possibly is not the Atlantean mother box. I could be wrong about this, but it could be the Amazonian mother box. Somehow he's got access to it, because when you see Cyborg holding that mother box, he's in this desolate area where it seems as though there's been a lot of war and carnage, and it reminds me of the Themyscirians or the Amazons fighting this invasion that's coming towards them in the video. So maybe Cyborg has that mother box and is protecting it from the invaders who invaded and was trying to attack the Themyscirians. Of course, that shot could have been an earlier shot, where earlier on there was an attempted invasion of Earth by the apocalyptic forces, maybe led by Darkseid, who knows. And they failed, and the Atlanteans held them back. So this could be something in the beginning of the movie, or this could be something coming down to the end of the movie, where there are battles worldwide against Darkseid's forces. However, when we saw the first sighting of the mother box we saw in this trailer was at the beginning of the trailer, and you notice that it was associated with Cyborg's dad. However, that mother box could have been a mother box that was there by the father, okay, before Cyborg was created, okay? So that Victor Stone probably got into the accident, and the father probably had the mother box sitting down there, and he probably was contemplating whether he should use it to heal Victor Stone, okay? Because you see it amongst his trophies and stuff, and it seems as though the father illegally has that mother box there hidden in his cupboard, okay? So this could be something before Victor Stone became Cyborg, okay? His father's name is Simon Stone. And Simon Stone, we see a shot of him entering an apartment, then we see the mother box, then we see Simon Stone. He's looking at something. I don't know if he's in his apartment still, and there's a parademon appearing behind him. Now this could have happened with Simon Stone. This could have happened after Simon Stone had fused Victor Stone into the mother box. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people may have missed. Lex Luthor also emulated the sound of a mother box. He said ding 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 ding. Now, one of two things could have happened. Lex Luthor could have found out about mother boxes on the Kryptonian ship and about Steppenwolf, etc. And so he's talking about ding 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 ding. But remember, mother boxes can summon other people. It can communicate telepathically, and it can open and close boom tubes. So it's very possible, because we haven't talked about Lex Luthor in this movie yet, that Lex Luthor has something to do with summoning Darkseid's forces and utilizing mother boxes to open and close boom tubes. This is possible. the other possibility is that when we saw the mother box in Simon Stone's room, the mother box was actually kind of activated and moving, that the mother box itself could have been activating, interacting with Darkseid's forces and summoning them to Earth. It's very possible. Because the mother box is, you have to interface with the mother box or activate it somehow, shape or form. And maybe Victor Stone's father, Simon Stone, activated the mother box. It's one of the two things. Or it could have been Lex Luthor who activated the mother box and so is summoning Darkseid's forces. And maybe Darkseid's forces have been on the Earth after that for a while, sneaking around, which is why Wonder Woman says they're already here. So they may have been scouting around looking for those mother boxes. So there's a lot going on in this video, and if you looked at the Comic-Con trailer, it would give you some hints, and then Batman v Superman would give you some hints as to what's going on with these mother boxes. So there's a lot going on with these mother boxes. But remember, like I said possibly before in this video, I'm not too sure if I did, mother boxes are apocalypton technology. Okay, they're apocalypton technology. They're miniaturized portable supercomputers, although their true nature and origins are unknown. Okay, they have wondrous powers and abilities not understood even by their users, the gods of New Genesis. So they can teleport or summon boom tubes. They can also do energy manipulation, as we already know, heal the injured. Like I said, they can provide their owner with unconditional love and self-destruct when the owner dies. So once again, mother boxes in this video, I think that Cyborg is fused to a mother box, and the mother box is pretty much part of the story. But remember, what you saw in the trailer is not everything. What I would like to say, though, even though I'm talking about mother boxes, is that I hope that Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder do not put out another trailer until maybe the week before Justice League comes out in November. And why they shouldn't do this is because they can rehash this trailer as long as they want. They don't need 3 trailers, okay? This trailer didn't give away a lot. There's so many elements of Justice League that have to be covered. So this trailer hasn't given away a lot. But I'm hoping 2 things about Justice League. 1, WB has done well. They've put out something to create excitement and so on. I think it's the #1 trending video as of this present moment in time. However, they need now to just rehash this video in different TV spots and don't do anything else. They need to keep all the other action parts of the movie, keep everything back. Okay, I'm hoping they didn't spill the beans and that's the best action parts and the best comedy of the movie. I am hoping this movie is not a disappointment, because the kind of hype they have generated for this movie in this first trailer and in the teasers, it's gonna be hard to maintain, sustain, and live up to that hype come movie time if they continue to reveal other aspects of the movie. Alright, the movie looks awesome in the trailers. It really hyped me up. But Zack Snyder has a tendency to make really great trailers, whether it's Sucker Punch or Watchmen, but he kind of dumps all the great action scenes in his trailers, and then he comes in the movie, and then you're watching the content of the movie. I know he wants to tell a story, but then he comes and he throws away all the best parts, so that when you actually going to look at the movie, okay, this movie's going to be action and stuff, 300 style or whatever, you're not really wowed. And then some of the action scenes are kind of repetitive. We don't need all of that. We need it to be something where you hold back at least the storyline. You hold back the wow factors, certain wow factors in the story. Because when I first saw the teaser with Aquaman, I was just blown away. There was a huge wow factor there, you know what I mean? So I'm leaving that there for this video. I need to go to sleep now because I just drank enough water there. So I'm gonna go and get my rest. And I just thought I would share this trailer with you guys on Motherboxes because I think a lot of people are saying, well, I thought Cyborg was fused to a Motherbox. Where's this extra Motherbox coming from? You know, what's going on here? And that's good when people can say what's going on here, you know. Another critique I had of the trailer after looking at it, it looks like it's going to be a lot more fun. There's going to be a lot more banter between obviously because they're different characters there and they have to somehow mesh together. So that looks like that's going to be tough as well. And my critique is this, that it's not that it's too much comedy. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with it being sort of smart and funny. I'm hoping that the trailers represent what the movie is. Okay? I don't want this movie, the trailers, to mislead you, and then the movie has these very tremendous amounts of lulls in them. What I mean by that is, if you look at the movie and the trailers, the build up to the action scenes happens with Batman recruiting people, and there is a kind of build to it, right? That's what you need to keep with. If you're saying that Batman is recruiting people, then it needs to keep with that. Another thing Zack Snyder does a lot of, which will throw off people for Justice League, is he goes from one event, especially with BVS. I'm talking about the theatrical release. I'm hoping the theatrical release on this thing is on point. We saw it in Suicide Squad. We saw it in Batman v Superman, where you're going from one scene to the next. There's a lot of flashbacks and a lot of this and a lot of that. I'm hoping if they're going to do flashbacks, if they're going to do these different things, that you do it right. Okay? I'm hoping Zack gets this right, because he needs to get it right, because this is Justice League. So if you're going to incorporate flashbacks, if you're going to incorporate all these different characters into your movie, you got to do it better than Suicide Squad did. Suicide Squad did an excellent job of developing their characters, but when it comes to actually flashbacks and integrating it into their storyline, which was a very simple storyline, by the way, when they do it to integrate it into their storyline, they were kind of rough and crude. But you can give it a pass because that was villains, and villains are not really predictable. In this case, we're dealing with heroes. You need to have your storyline nice and smooth. Now, Wonder Woman's going to make a big difference in how this later story is told, because she fills in a lot of gaps. Okay, so you can spend a lot of time developing certain characters in this movie, because this is still a sort of semi-origin film, even though it's a sequel to Batman v Superman. Alright, and Suicide Squad's kind of a sequel to Batman v Superman, but this movie is also. And there are two very important things to make this happen. Now, I know Zack Snyder's a huge fanboy of DC Comics, but you can't clutter too much stuff into Justice League. You're going to put some elements of Suicide Squad. You're going to put some elements of Death of Superman, Resurrection of Superman. And you're going to put some elements of introduction of Justice League members. And then you got to deal with the threat, right? All of those things somehow, some way, he has to fit into this one movie. If he's doing it as one movie. If he's doing it as two parts, it's a different story. If you're doing it as one movie, that's a different story. So how Zack executes this in a 2-hour, 30-minute movie it's a kind of tough order for Zack to be able to pull all those things off. And he has to do it. He has to do it now in terms of storytelling. He can't just be claustrophobic and make another cluster, I don't want to cuss, but a clustered movie. Okay? He has to be able to execute it where the main theme, the main story arc gets told in a fluent, crisp, clear manner. Yes, they're going to be fanboys of the lore, but you have to be clear, crisp, and fluent. Meaning, when you tell your story, we must have a main antagonist that we follow the story through, even though we have several, not antagonists, protagonists, several protagonists. He can't have a dead story and then have the last hour just blitzing. He's just blitzing in the last hour. He needs to build his story. Okay? His problem with Zack Snyder is he goes over the top in the last 45 minutes of his films. But in the before that, it's just building and it's kind of slow, and you need to mix it in. You need to have what we call a tempo, a pace, a certain rhythm to it. Now, whether or not he can execute that, because there's so many original stuffs and on so many different things he has to do to get this to come off, there's a certain science to it, and of course he wants to tell certain specific things. I know Zack Snyder's a very particular kind of guy. He wants to tell some very specific things. To make Justice League work, he can't be packing in, cramming and stuff. Okay? If the story arc's going to be kind of simple, because it's basically Batman recruiting these people to face Darkseid, right? If the story arc's going to be simple, you don't want the story arc to be too simple. Obviously, it's not going to be. But there's twists and stuff inside of there somewhere. But here's the thing. You got to keep it streamlined. What do I mean by streamlined? You got to have people focused in to be able to go with this story on specific threads and specific characters as you move through the story. That's what made Suicide Squad a success. Their story was ridiculously simple, okay? There wasn't much story there. There wasn't much plot to Suicide Squad. But you were able to follow Deadshot from beginning to end. You were able to follow Harley Quinn from beginning to end. You were able to follow Diablo from beginning to his end, okay? Those guys carried the movie. Right? Those guys carried the movie. It's the same thing with Justice League. But here's the problem. With Justice League, you got to have a stronger story. You see, people like critics, people like children, and people like casual moviegoers, if you confuse them at any point, they disengage. So you cannot be so cerebral that you lose them. But here's the balancing act. You also must be engaging mentally. So you got to have it so that it's still got this level of depth to it, that people can follow the plot and be like, oh, if you look at Captain America Civil War, I'm not comparing this movie to Captain America Civil War. It was idiotic, if you ask me, because when I reflected on it enough, I thought it was a stupid movie. But it engaged people enough because it had sufficient amount of depth. Of course, we knew the characters from before, and people were able to be emotionally involved and go along with the characters to the end. I think Wonder Woman's going to pull that off. So Zack Snyder needs to have a certain degree of depth that you care enough about the characters that you want to go along with them to the end. It's one thing to have them have superpowers. It's one thing to have them have abilities, which is what he showcased there. But it's another thing when you can show, and even jokes, but you got to be able to care about these characters as you move along. And that's the thing that Zack Snyder needs to get right. And if you can draw people in via the characters, not just the glamour of the characters. For instance, people love the glamour of Batman. But you need to get people emotionally drawn into Batman. This is just the way how traditional theater experience is. Alright? I'm a cerebral person. I will appreciate Justice League because I appreciate Zack Snyder. I appreciate the ideas and the ideals and the statements he makes. However, you're not just dealing with people like me, who are learned people, who are people who have studied and see the world differently. You have to also deal with people who are more traditional in their thinking. And if you want to influence people's thinking so that they don't necessarily reject what you do and abandon what you do, you have to be able to give them something that they can actually chew on. And so Zack Snyder, he's a very subliminal kind of guy. He does a lot of things in the background. So I understand why he does his style, but he needs to temper that to the extent of which, when he goes with his ultimate cut, he can do that. But when he's doing the theatrical cut, he needs to keep it at a certain level of clarity. Right? It needs to be clearer. So he needs to be a little bit more clear on what he's doing. I looked at some of the action sequences. I like them all. But here's my critique. And it's a very important critique that Zack Snyder needs to take to heart. We need to see the action. I don't want to go into some 4D cinema or some sort of IMAX to see it. You must be able to see it on any cinema screen. Batman v Superman in the cinemas was too dark. I couldn't see certain action scenes. Same thing for Suicide Squad. When I went and saw Suicide Squad, there were certain action scenes that were just too dark for us to see, or too cloudy. You know, the final big action scene that was supposed to happen with the big baddie, it was kind of clouded with smoke, so we couldn't see everything. And you see, we want to appreciate every single thing that goes on. And again, I'm not saying this is a Marvel film, but Marvel, you're able to see all the action scenes. And I know it's going to be kind of difficult to see certain things with the Flash or with Wonder Woman, etc., because Snyder's working on super speed. I get it. But at the same time, it must be clear enough and visually sharp enough that we are able to see these things. The wow factor. Now, as we get into the world of these superheroes and their super speed and their super this and super that, we don't want it to be such that, well, this is being extra picky, but that it becomes monotonous. I've heard some people say, oh, she's jumping, they're pushing, that's it. Wonder Woman can fight. So we're looking forward to her fighting abilities, but also we understand she's a caring person. She's a loving person. She is trying to be the hero back in the day. Now she's reestablishing herself as a hero. So I understand there's going to be a lot more body to this general theme. What I'm hoping, though, is that Snyder can pull this off. It's going to be very tricky to pull off, but he has to pull off the balance between the depth of your story plot and caring about the characters, and not just caring about them in a way where the story plot is abandoned. Suicide Squad abandoned their story plot for people to invest and care about the characters. You gotta have that balance. You gotta be able to care about the story. The story needs to go somewhere. I think the story could be epic and it can be really great story, but it also, story is only as good as its characters. So it's important that he invests in the characters as well. And hopefully the studio does not get so involved in this movie that Snyder has to cut off his big toe, so that we get a travesty, which was BVS theatrical cut. When we called it a travesty, I didn't think it was a travesty, but most people, the critics and so on, thought it was a travesty. So it's very important, if you're going to pull off Justice League, coming off of Wonder Woman, which I think is going to be, I think that's the one that's going to be more conventional, and so therefore people are going to like it. I hope so. I hope that Patty Jenkins, I know she's won an Oscar for, directing a certain movie. I'm hoping that when they pull it off, it's not something that, I know the ending is going to be one in which Wonder Woman is not going to be thinking of herself as a hero anymore. I get it. So it's going to be something of a deconstruction, but there's going to be this swelling of her being a hero, and we're going to enjoy certain parts of it, and then certain parts of it are going to be kind of uncomfortable to us, but they'll buffer it enough so that you feel okay about it. If Wonder Woman comes off as how we anticipate it will come off, then, and I don't care about how the critics feel about it, Justice League needs to do the same. See, people loved Suicide Squad. It didn't matter what the critics said about it. It was a crappy movie, but it didn't matter. People loved Suicide Squad. So if people love Wonder Woman, that's all that matters. And then the last critical step will be on Snyder to get Justice League correct. Even if Wonder Woman comes out and it's critically acclaimed and everybody loves Wonder Woman, it's a big hit and whatever, that does not mean that people are going to love Justice League. Even if Wonder Woman is the best thing since sliced bread in it, even if Aquaman is the best thing since sliced bread in it, even if The Flash steals the show or Cyborg, okay, doesn't really matter. You can have individual performances by individual characters, but a movie is still crap. So, most people think they don't think it's that great. And this movie has so much hype behind it. See, that's the problem. Avengers, when people first started seeing Avengers trailers, it didn't have as much hype as Batman v Superman or Justice League, because the Avengers, while they did some momentous thing, caught people by surprise, and the characters in the Avengers, while a lot of people wanted to see them, were not big characters as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Okay, these are huge characters. So Zack has an uphill battle going against him here, especially in light of what happened with BVS in public perception by major media outlets. So he's gonna have an uphill battle. The vitriol that came off of that is ridiculous. And I know there was a lot of hate to start with, but you know, you're talking about epic characters, and Zack chose to tackle that. So now Aquaman, everybody's liking Aquaman. Why? Because Aquaman's never been this tremendous character like Batman, Wonder Woman, or Superman. Right? Same thing when people said with Avengers, oh, we're gonna do a movie of the Avengers now coming together. Nobody was really raved about seeing Thor in there, or you know, I'm just saying, you know, nobody was hyped about seeing Thor around the Avengers. Nobody was hyped about Loki. You know what I mean? Nobody was hyped about, you know, everybody's hyped about Iron Man. I think he was the only most hyped guy, not Black Widow. Nobody's hyped about Black Widow. She was cool, but nobody was hyped about her. Nobody was hyped about the guy who was shooting stuff. You know, people were cool about Captain America, but nobody. So I'm saying that movies where the characters are not well known, your expectations are not high for them, so that by the time the movie comes out, it wows you. You know, when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, before that, people were looking at, it's kind of interesting movie, but nobody had ever heard about them. So there was always this wow factor you'd get. But Superman and Batman, everybody knows who they are, and they had movies and all that stuff. Okay, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Spider-Man's always been a feature guy. He's like the flagship of Marvel. Okay, Batman's like the flagship of DC, in movies at least. And Spider-Man's Homecoming is coming out. Alright? That's an epic. That's going to be another epic. Well, it's not going to be epic, but it's going to be it's going to be a fun film. Right? People are looking forward to it. And the trailers have not been on the level of what I think the movie will be. And that's very important, because the trailers, if you overhype a movie with the trailers, when you look at the movie now, you're not as hyped. Because you went so high so that you can come down now, and it becomes a disappointment to you. With Batman v Superman, Superman catching that kryptonite holding grenade, right? Should have saved that for the movie. You know what I mean? Because these wow factors is what makes these movies interesting. So when you put all that wow out there, and now you go and watch the movie and you're seeing the wows and you're like, I saw that before, it doesn't wow you as much. And then you start to nitpick the movie if it's not what you think it should be. right? So once again, I hope that Zack Snyder and Company Limited is paying attention to this, and they understand the balancing act. And Zack's a fan, I get that, but you gotta take off your fan hat sometimes and turn on your business sense and turn on your storytelling hack and say, I can't afford to give away all this story. And yeah, he's gonna have all kinds of things going on in the movie, I'm sure, but he has to keep the movie, he has to let people not think of it as a hodgepodge of stuff, because if you do too many things in a movie, people are not going to follow what the movie's about. Which is why Batman v Superman, people couldn't follow Batman v Superman. I enjoyed it. I could follow it, because I don't have to follow a character going through. But by now, WB should have realized you have to have some sort of protagonist that carries the movie all the way from beginning to end. The other thing that is very important is that the story, the plot, whatever it is building in a proper traditional way. Zack Snyder, has he pulled it off? He pulled it off with Man of Steel. Man of Steel was his most lineal film, even though he had flashbacks and so on. But that was just the development of one character. He's going to have to deal with development of multiple characters in this movie. I think he's doing a pretty good job of giving you background. And he doesn't have to take excessive amount of time to develop these characters and give you background for them, because they have their own movies coming up. But he needs to do a good job of focusing these characters in on the mother boxes, on the story plot, so that they fit into the story plot in a traditional, smooth way. Okay? That is his target. If you're going to tell a certain story, then the characters must fit into the story. You're not just telling them origin stuff for origin's sake. They must fit in with the story. If he does that, he's going to execute it, and it's going to be great. So that's my video. You guys have a great one.